And the dog that we saw online, literally as we walked in, there was a family walking out with that dog. It's like, oh, our dog is gone. So then we kept looking. We saw this little dog shivering, skin and bones, could see every rib in the back corner of his little, I guess, cage area. Very shy, and Nathan was drawn to him and really wanted him. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, he's kind of like, there was nothing about him, frankly, that drew me to him. And obviously, I was completely wrong because he's perfect in every way.
Hey, welcome back to the Stories on Tape podcast. I'm your host, Josh Robinson, and today we have a professional storyteller on the podcast. He is ready to hit the streets to bring you the stories that matter most, and in fact, he's won 5 Emmys for doing just that. It's the one and only Derick Waller. Derick, thanks for being with us today.
There's one right there.
There it is. Yes, perfect. Oh, we're going to get into that. Don't worry. Derick, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. I am good. I'm so excited to talk to a fellow newsie to kind of break down what we've been through and all the other things. But before we get into any of that, do you have a story that you can tell us that might explain who Derick is if we've never met you before?
Okay, so as you mentioned, I've been a reporter for a long time, 15 years, most of that time right here in New York City, where I live. And I think if there's one story that kind of defines what I like to do, last year, I did a story about these cars that were getting stolen from people's driveways, at the valet, any manner of ways. And then they were ending up at the port and then being shipped overseas. And so that was really interesting to me. A friend of mine told me that his car got stolen at a valet while he was eating dinner. And I looked into it and found out there's actually a larger problem than I realized. And the issue here is that when you steal a car in the United States, you can't sell it because it's then reported stolen. So the MO for these guys is to rush it to the port right away and try to ship it overseas and sell it overseas. So those kinds of stories where, I'm learning something, hopefully the viewer's learning something, maybe we can offer some information as to how to protect yourself. Those kinds of stories, empowering people to make more informed decisions is what I kind of like to do.
Absolutely. Those were always my favorite too. When I knew by the end of this 2.5 minute package or however long it was that you were going to learn something that you could immediately take away, write down, use at a later date was always really exciting. That's so interesting that they've had to figure out a way to sell the stolen cars like that.
Yeah, I had no idea. So, I mean, I think that's kind of, some of the best stories for me are when, I'm personally invested and really super interested, because I hopefully that comes through in the story. And if I'm interested in something, then hopefully there's somebody else out there who's also interested. So yeah.
Absolutely. Totally. You bring that energy to it. And it definitely comes across on screen for sure. So how did you find your passion for journalism? Where does that come from?
I'm one of these kids who, I used to be like 8 years old and I'd run home and turn on the 6 o'clock news. Like I was a weird kid who liked to watch the local news. So I think it was from a young age, I was just really fascinated by the people on TV. And I thought, wow, I want to do that. I want to be on TV. And so that was kind of the rudimentary part of it. But then as I got older, I had a passion for current events. I enjoyed politics and learning about the world around me. So I kind of married those two things, my interest in being creative and making TV and video and that sort of thing, but also, like I said, the politics and current events. And so that led me to journalism. And so, I was on the high school newspaper. I was an assistant editor-in-chief of the James River Current, which was the name of the paper. And then I went to school, obviously, for journalism and, made my way through. And that's it.
And here we are. That's awesome. I love that. Yes, my high school, we did our morning announcements like a news show. And so that's kind of how I was like, oh, I find this very interesting. I thought I was going to do pharmacy, and then AP chemistry did not go well for me senior year of high school. And I said, you know what? I like the video. I like talking to people. This could work out. And so I get that. Yes. And so tell me a little bit about your journey in journalism. How did you end up in New York? And then kind of what has there been a story that kind of sticks out to you over that time that you're like, oh, I loved getting to do that?
Well, yeah, 15 years is how long I've been a reporter. I started in, small markets like we all do. So Charlottesville, Virginia, which is market 183. So really, really tiny, but I
Yeah.
was lucky because it was an hour away from where I grew up, and I was making $22,000 a year. So it's nice to be close to home, when you're in that situation. So I did that for a couple of years. I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, and I was an MMJ, which for the viewers is where you shoot your own videos. I did that for a few years, and then I decided that what, I don't want to be an MMJ anymore. I wanted to be the lead story on the
Mhm.
news and have a photographer and do live shots and that sort of thing. And I was trying to move up in markets, and so I actually took a job in Cleveland, Ohio, where I had never been before I did the interview, and I really grew to love Cleveland. I love the people. The food there was amazing. Great restaurant scene, super cheap to live in. I just really loved it there. The station was great. It was WEWS Channel 5 there, and had a great time. And while I was there, you talk about stories that I remember. What an amazing summer living there in 2016, because the Cleveland Cavaliers were doing really well, and LeBron James had moved back to Cleveland, and they went to the finals, and it's a big sports town, so everyone was really excited about that. That was an amazing time to be there. And then right after that was the Republican National Convention, where they nominated Donald Trump, and so there was a lot going on. It was a fascinating time, and so I really look back on that period with great memories. From there, the stars aligned, and I got a job at WABC in New York, and that was always the goal, always the dream. And a lot of people obviously want to make it to market one, and there's lots of talented people who never get the chance because there's the stars really have to align. Not only do you have to be good at your job, you got to be available when they're looking for somebody, and then of course, if a young woman just left and that's the opening they have, and they may want to fill that with another woman. So I just happen to be at the right place, the right time, and really changed my life. And so I've been in New York now for 8 years, and I really don't want to leave.
That's incredible. Congratulations. I started my career in Jackson, Tennessee, which I think was market 188. So I
Okay,
very
so there you
much,
go. You
yes,
get it.
I do. I do it. And I too was just an hour away from home. I grew up in Memphis, so it was just an hour. So I understand all of that. I was a morning anchor and then an MMJ. So I did the morning news and
Mm.
then reported for the 6 and 10 o'clock shows that night. So
Oh my
I
God.
it was an experience. I got really good at editing and writing in my head because we covered all of West Tennessee besides Memphis.
Hmm.
So we could easily have to drive an hour one way to report on a story. So I got very good at knowing what I was going to do when I got back to the station
Can
and
I
just
ask
sat
you
it.
how much you made?
I was making, I think it was, I want to say either 34 or 36,000 a year.
Okay, that's more than I expected, but I guess you were also the anchor. You're doing like three people's jobs, so.
Yes. Yeah. And I was there, I think I was there for a total of 3 years. So I think that number was by the end of the 3 years, now that I think
Okay.
about it. So it was probably I think I was making 15 an hour when
Okay.
I
Well,
started. So
your
yeah.
college degree. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So shout out to my parents who I'm sure supported from time to time and made it all worth it. Very, very thankful. So I have a memory of when I was there working my first job. There was a moment where I was like, is this what I want to do? It's a weird, I know you've done the weird schedule. I was getting up at 2:50 in the morning, going to bed at 6:30 at night, which is not great for an extrovert, a 22-year-old extrovert. Was there a moment where you covered a story and you were like, okay, this is it. I know what I'm doing. It's going to be hard right now, but I'm confident. Or was it just a moment in general where you were kind of confirmed in being a journalist?
I was so clear-eyed about what I wanted to do from a young age that there was never really a moment, I would say, as an adult, after going into the industry, where I was like, oh yeah, I'm confirmed. This is really what I want to do. I mean, I was just so focused on that goal from very early on. And I even talked to a high school friend of mine recently who actually reminded me that you used to say in high school that you wanted to be a reporter in New York, and I didn't realize that I used to say that. I had no idea. I mean, that was the goal, but that was really eye opening, and I'm glad he reminded me of that because I did it, and it was that's always been what I wanted to do. So yeah, I've always been very very focused on that goal, and I achieved that goal, and so. pat on the back for me, I guess. But
Absolutely.
there's more to life at what I'm learning now. At 38 years old, that's been checked off the box, and so um, you know, there's other things to explore.
Hmm. Absolutely. And New York's a perfect place for that. I'm discovering I've been here, I think as of today, 8 months. So I'm
Congratulations.
thank you. It's been a big learning experience, but so much fun. Any tips, tricks for a new New Yorker, someone that's been here for almost a decade now? Anything you'd like to share, Pat? I'm experiencing my first New York winter as well this year.
Oh, well, the last few have not really been, much of anything. So
Okay.
maybe you're going to bring the snow. We hope so. Hopefully, this will be the year we get some snow because it really
Yes.
hasn't snowed much in several years.
Okay.
Tips, maybe avoid Times Square. I don't know. I
Uh-huh.
don't
Yeah.
try to do that. Walk with purpose. We like fast walkers.
Mhm.
We're not stopping randomly on the sidewalk. We're not looking around. We have somewhere to be. Um, but
Yes.
no, I mean, I think that people are very intimidated by New York City, and for good reason. I mean, it's very hectic. There's a lot going on, a lot to see, a lot of people. It's expensive, but once you're here, I think you realize that it's just such a special place, and there's no place quite like it. And we've got everything. We've got Broadway. We've got all the food, the shopping. Everything. The airports are great because you can go anywhere without connecting, basically. So I just we have beaches too in the summertime. So
Yes.
it's great. I love New
It
York.
it is. It has been great. Okay, you mentioned Broadway. I'm a big theater person. That was a big selling point for me coming here. Have you seen anything recently? Do you go to shows often? What's your connection to that?
My partner, he's really into Broadway,
Okay.
and so as an extension, I sort of now am as well. I didn't used to be, so we see a lot of things together. One thing we recently saw was actually off Broadway at is it City Center? I think,
Yep.
yeah, right behind Carnegie Hall.
Hmm.
Bat Boy. Have you seen Bat
Yes,
Boy?
I got to see it. It was. I was telling someone. I think it
Interesting.
might be one of my like new favorite musicals. It was absurd, but my like it was very much my sense of humor kind of absurd. I loved it.
I had no idea what it was before we went to go see it. I didn't do any research, and I
Hmm.
kind of like that. I like to just kind of go in with a fresh set of eyes, and I guess you can kind of figure out what's going on from the name of the show. But when it opens and there's literally like a man pretending to be a bat on stage, like a bat human hybrid.
Hmm.
That was interesting for me. So yes, it was definitely very campy. Had amazing actors in it, like people that you've actually heard of.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it was interesting. Yeah, that was my review. It was interesting.
Interesting. That's a great word for it. It is. I've gotten to go to a couple things at City Center since being here, and it's
Mm.
just a beautiful space. I love
Oh
it
yeah,
there. It's awesome. But yeah, that show is definitely one of a kind. It's very unique. But it's a fun one. If you get the chance, if anyone has the chance to see it later on in your town or whatever, go
yeah.
see it. It'll open your eyes a little
And
bit.
then we saw Two Strangers last week. Two Strangers
Oh,
carry a cake across New York. I think it's what it's called. That
yes.
was excellent. I thought that was really good.
Okay, that's on my list, Derick. I love the soundtrack. It was over in the West End in London and has transferred to Broadway now. I'm fingers crossed that I get to go see that soon because I have loved the music so far.
Yeah,
Uh,
Sam Tuddy, I think it's his name. He was
yes.
really terrific. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, good to know. I like having opinions from other people. This is very very nice. I want to talk about your dog. I followed you on socials for a little bit, and Barney is one of my favorites when he pops up. How did Barney come into your life?
So Barney came into our life. It was December of 2018, December 2018, and we were sitting in our apartment, Nathan and I, and we had been talking about it for a while about adopting a dog. And then Nathan is looking on all the different websites from the different shelters, and they have pictures of the dogs, and he's like, "Why don't we go take a look?" Which, in hindsight, I realized, oh, we were always going to come home with an animal. But he billed it as let's just go look. And
Yeah.
so we went to Bidawee, which at the time was over on like 38th Street near on the east side. They've moved since then, and we're looking through the different areas. they were running a special. There was like no adoption fee, so they were basically giving these dogs away.
Mm-hmm.
And the dog that we saw online, literally as we walked in, there was a family walking out with that dog. So, oh, our dog is gone. So then we kept looking. We saw this little dog shivering, skin and bones. Could see every rib in the back corner of his little, I guess, cage area. Very shy, and Nathan was drawn to him and really wanted him. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, he's kind of like, there was nothing about him, frankly, that drew me to him. So they bring him out, they put him in a room with us, and the first thing he does is he pees on the floor, and he's sitting there and he's shivering, and it's like, okay, what are we doing here? But then Nathan really liked him, and so we took him home, and I had no objection to it. I just wasn't like desperately like ready to take this dog home, and obviously I was completely wrong because he's perfect in every way, and and he's
He's
sleeping. I'll actually stand right.
yes,
Stand right
please.
there.
We'll take a cameo.
Here we go. Oh boy, here he is.
Oh, he's so precious.
I know, and he's almost 8. He's 8
Wow.
years old.
Uh,
He's wondering why I picked him up from his nap, but
he, he's like,
yeah,
why did you
he's
move me right
a
now?
little Chihuahua mix, and he's tall, and
Uh,
it's
Barney,
he's
you're so
perfect.
cute. Oh, I
And he doesn't
love
make
him.
noise. He's a perfect apartment dog.
Yes, I say we are long-term cat sitting at the moment, and Grayson is currently also asleep on the couch, but he does not like being picked up, so I'll leave him over there. So what's it like having this companion with you? Was it? I know you were here in New York during the pandemic as well. So what was it like having a dog during that time?
So it was interesting because Nathan and I both caught COVID like immediately, so
Hmm.
March of 2020, and I'm sure it had something to do with the fact that I literally go out in public every day, and so I
Right.
probably brought it home. But it was interesting because at that point it was so early; they weren't even telling you to wear a mask yet. There was no guidance about
Mm,
any of that. You couldn't get a test yet, so if you had it, you weren't even sure you actually had it. But you can kind of tell because it was pretty. It's a really bad cold, and it really
yes.
attacked your lungs. To be honest with you, so it was pretty obvious that, oh yeah, we have COVID. And you're supposed to be locked down, but it's like we have a dog, we have to go walk the dog. And that was really interesting, that first couple of weeks, because you want to follow the rules, but also I literally have to take the dog outside, so
Right.
um, that was a little iffy. But then, during the lockdown, having this guy around is amazing. I mean, he loved it. He hates when we leave him. He's very much a lap dog, Velcro dog. So I think that he was really happy to have everyone home. And even after the pandemic, Nathan did work from home pretty
Mm.
frequently. So Barney loved that. But yeah, it was great having a little dog, and I highly
Yes.
recommend it.
Were you a dog cat person before getting Barney? Did you have pets growing up at all?
I did, and I actually had a little miniature pincher that kind of looks like Barney, and I think
Okay.
that's actually why Nathan was drawn to him, because he kind of looked like the dog I had growing up. And just to get little sad for a moment, there was a reason that I didn't get a dog for a long time, is because I had this dog. His name was Sarabi. He was named after the Lion King,
Yes.
and it's he.
We'll
We
take
got him in
it.
1996, and he passed away in 2010. Basically, as I was graduating from college, and so
Mhm.
this is like my childhood dog, and so that was like a pretty traumatic experience when he passed. And so that was so traumatic that I really didn't. I was like, I don't want to go through that again. I'm just not getting another dog. So that's why it took 8 years for us to, and also Nathan doing it to get another dog, because I was so attached to my dog growing up. But I'm glad we got you, and he eats really expensive food, so hopefully he'll be one of these Chihuahuas. He's like 23.
Uh-huh.
Hopefully,
I was gonna
he
say
will,
they
he'll just
are
stick it.
one of the dogs that lives for a long time. So I think you're stuck a little while longer.
Yeah, yeah. All right, I'll put him in. You can go now. You're being tortured enough. All right.
Perfect.
Yes. Okay.
Can you tell me a little bit about your time on doing the morning shift? Because that is my like real experience in news. I worked on a lifestyle show for 2.5 years in Chattanooga, but my first job in Jackson, I was a morning news person. So what was that like for you?
It was very interesting, and you definitely get to learn New York very quickly doing that shift
Mm.
because, obviously, as you know, with morning news, you're live basically every half an hour. We're doing tons of breaking news. We're all over the viewing area. This viewing area is so enormous, not just in population, but geographically, because obviously we're covering the five boroughs and then basically half of the state of New Jersey. There's one county in Connecticut, and then we do all of Long Island. Long Island is 90 miles long. So, and that's just like
Whoa.
over there. So it's really during the mornings, we're all over the place. And so you
Hmm.
really get used to the area and learn the geography and all the different names of towns and the different types of government they have in Connecticut and in New York and in New Jersey and how the courts work in all these different places. So that was definitely like trial by fire. Like they put you out there and you have to learn very quickly, and you do because every single day you're in a new community covering some breaking news story. So that was really great, a great introduction to New York. You learn so much so quickly. So I mean, the schedule obviously just was not it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Mm-mm,
tough.
mm-mm.
Hmm.
And some people actually really love it. I mean, I know that there's many people who obviously have families, they have little kids, and they love being home during the day. So for a certain person, that's a great schedule. It wasn't for me, to be honest with you,
Hmm.
but I loved working at that station. It was just a great time in my life, and I'm so happy that I had those 6 years there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, yeah. Getting up, like I said, getting up at 2:50 in the morning to go to bed at 6:30 at night was not for me.
Yeah, if
Um,
Jeopardy were coming on, that was basically like, oh no, I'm late. Like
yep.
I'm Jeopardy is like
Is my cue. It's my alarm that I need to be
that's my late
asleep.
night television is
Yep.
Jeopardy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I had this thing where on like Fridays and Saturdays I'd stay up a little later, and my friends called it Josh After Dark because they never saw
Oh.
me past like 7 o'clock, and so I was like I hit my second wind at like 8:30, and we were ready to go. And so
Yeah, as
once
long as you
I
keep moving,
oh yeah, absolutely. If you're
you're good.
entertaining me, it's great, but if I'm gonna sit down, it's over. We're
No,
done.
don't sit on the
See you
couch.
tomorrow.
Absolutely not. But that's the thing is that your body snaps back. Didn't you find that on the weekend you just like snap back, and then on like Sunday morning you're waking up at a normal time and you got
Yep.
to start the process all over again and like force yourself back to sleep.
Yes. Yeah, that was the Sunday nights were the worst because you've been out of it for 2 days and you're like, man,
Yeah.
I have to go to bed or it won't be
Yeah,
fun
but
for
your
anyone
body
tomorrow.
wants to go back to that normal schedule, and so
Yes.
that's what I found so interesting is that for 6 years I was forcing myself to sleep at these times, and your body is like truly fighting it. So
Yes.
yeah.
It was never a dull moment. That is for sure. And so what's going on now? I know you left WABC. What are you working on now?
So yeah, I worked at CBS for a couple of years. I was freelancing there, and so now I've started my own company. It's called Waller Media, and I'm trying to figure it out, to be honest with
Okay.
you. So, I'm doing some video production, and I'm hosting some events, and offering myself as a moderator for panels and that sort of thing. So, corporate meetings and quinceañeras and bar mitzvahs. I'm your guy. So I'm like Joan Rivers. If the check clears, I'm there.
I love that. I love that. And it is it is really interesting the skills you learn as a journalist, how they are able to go into so many different careers that you could take on once if you decide to step away from it.
Absolutely. We always talk about transferable skills,
Hmm.
and that is so true because I'm learning now in this new world where I'm talking to people who don't work in news that what we do in a newsroom is unusual. The fact that we have these insane deadlines,
Hmm.
I'm learning is not a normal thing. So the fact that we can work so quickly, think on our feet, every moment we're like in crisis mode, like trying to figure out how am I going to get this done in the next hour. That is a skill, and a lot of people don't have that skill. And we, as other people are trying to make that transition, because unfortunately our business that we know and love is in this moment of transition, and there's
Hmm.
fewer jobs than there used to be. And as people are trying to make that transition, they have to realize that you have a lot to offer, and it's all about properly promoting yourself and making sure you're translating those skills in a way that makes sense,
Absolutely.
which I'm still
Um,
trying to figure out myself, frankly.
it's something because you get so used to doing it one way, and a different career does it just slightly different, and so you're just trying to figure out how do you word it, how do you make it fit that mold.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, we're always in crisis mode, but still churning out like very high level finished products, which I think isn't always the case for other people who are in crisis mode every once in a while. We've learned how to make it still look good, even though I only had 15 minutes to do it.
100%. I mean, I always say to myself, it doesn't matter what the deadline is. I mean, you're going to get a product done with the time that I have. So if I have an hour, it's going to look like I had an hour. If I have a week, well, I have a week. But,
Yeah,
we'll get it done no matter what. That's kind of the journalist mindset. Like it will happen no matter what the deadline is.
absolutely. And let's talk about these 5 Emmys. One, congratulations, just won 2 most recently, just a few months ago, correct?
Yeah, actually, last month I won 2 Emmys, and that was really fun. One was for a crime report that I did with a really wonderful photographer named Ian Harbis, who also won the Emmy. And this was basically a ride along that we did with the NYPD. And so they were doing a crackdown on illegal fireworks, which has been a serious issue. And there's been in New York, and there's been stories we covered that have been had tragic outcomes. And so that was a really interesting look at how they're doing that. We're riding along in different neighborhoods, and they're responding to basically people calling 311 for fireworks complaints, and then those get routed to the police. And so they were responding to that. So that was really eye opening. And then the other one was for Daily News Reporter, which to me was really that was the most meaningful award, frankly, that I've ever received in my life because. I know that that's hard to win. There's a lot of us. Most of us are daily news reporters, and so I was really touched that I actually was able to get that award because it was validating to get that recognition from my peers at a time when, frankly, I was kind of doubting myself, like if I had what it took to continue on or to be successful or to do a new thing, and so that was really a nice confidence boost.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations again. That's very, very exciting. And was there a story that won you one of these Emmys that was surprising to you, or like you said, one that has kind of meant the most out of those 5?
Yeah, definitely the Daily News Reporter Emmy. The
Hmm.
first 3 that I won were like ensemble situations. So
Okay.
2 were for our newscast that won, which I was obviously a part of. So many of us were able to take the trophy home. Another was for a weather special that I produced a piece for. And so to win this individual award, just me, was just a highlight of my career, I feel like. But as far as the stories that I submitted to get that award, I'm trying to think of some that were really interesting. But one of them actually was an offshoot of the story I mentioned before about the stolen cars getting shipped overseas. So that was what that was an investigative piece. It was branded in CBS Investigates. So I had a little more time to work on that. And during my research, there was a police department in New Jersey that actually gave me some surveillance videos showing one of these crimes actually happening, and so that way we actually were able to use that for like a day of news piece because it was this video of these teenagers making off with a Mercedes Benz SUV. They had the key fob, is how they got in the car, and the way
Ah.
they got the key fob was that they actually found an unlocked window and went through the window, grabbed the keys off the counter, and then stole the car. And so all of this was on video.
Now you're, like you said, you started your own company, but you're still putting content out there that's covering the big stories. Most recently, or one of a more recent one with Zoran Mamdani winning, you went to one of the boroughs that leaned more towards Andrew Cuomo, but you were out there interviewing people. I when I was told I had to do a man on the street interview, I wanted to crawl in a hole and hide. It is my least favorite version of a story that we ever had to do. What draws you towards those? It
I
makes me
just
cringe just thinking about it.
I'm just
Oh,
laughing because I agree with you. I really no one likes doing man on the street interviews because you're literally walking up to people who are busy doing other things and bothering them. So and also I would add this that I feel like doing man on the street in New York is the toughest because New Yorkers, uh, almost like a stereotype, are looking down. They have somewhere to be. Don't bother me. Very matter of fact. So the technique there is to not stop someone and say, "Hey, can I stop talk to you for a second? We're doing a story," and do this whole explainer. No, what you do is you go up with the camera already rolling and you just shout out a question at the person, and then hopefully they stop. And that's how you do the man on the street in New York.
okay. This is good to know. This is good to know.
So
Because
what
I
do you
think
think of Mamdani? That's what I would scream at people, and they'd stop and talk to me.
I bet they would, especially right now. I bet that's a good one. Because I think the other part of it is we all as a society are just so used to seeing cameras and people talking to themselves that like even if someone did approach you with a camera, you wouldn't necessarily think they wanted you to be there. So getting someone's attention and then getting them to talk to you is, I think, a whole nother level.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's yeah. So one, thank you for doing it because it's very interesting to hear how other people are thinking and feeling. And then what gets you out there to still do those things nowadays? Is it just because, like you said, you love helping inform people? Is it kind of just what gets you out of the house every day? What keeps you doing those?
I mean, I really love reporting. I mean, that's what my lifelong passion. So the fact that I can in this kind of new era of social not new era. I mean, it's been around for a long time now, but we're there's a lot more citizen journalism happening and content creation, and so I'm leaning into that. I've got the pedigree as a journalist. But I really enjoy talking to people and learning more about the world around us and sharing that with people. That's really my passion. So I love to continue doing that. And it's also for me sort of like a proof of concept situation because I do have this company where I'm trying to sell my services to organizations and companies that maybe would like a professional video produced. So this is sort of serving two things. I'm informing the public and doing the thing that I like to do, but also showing prospective clients that I do have these capabilities.
Absolutely. And keeping those skills sharp too. So
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
ready whenever they do call. I love that. I'd also love, if you're up for it, I'd love to talk a little bit about being a gay person on camera in front of people. Has that ever been a struggle for you? Is it something that has never affected? What has that been like for you?
I was fortunate to come up at a time when, like, I was out in high school, so obviously as a gay man, we all have a struggle, but I certainly think that my struggle was not as intense as some of the reporters that maybe a generation before me. So I will say that it's always been an interesting topic because newsrooms are all about diversity, especially on TV. They want the reporting staff to look like the community that they serve, and I do believe that. Well, for the most part, I think that most newsrooms really try to follow that. So. I'm someone who is a mixed race person, and there's always questions about what exactly my background is. And so, like when I interview for a job, that's kind of a touchy area where they would like to know. Obviously, the news director wants to know more about you and your background, but there's obviously protocols about that. You're not supposed to ask people. It's like that
Right.
line from Mean Girls. You can't
Yeah.
just ask people if they're white, you but so it's one of those things where, like in an interview, I would almost like share voluntarily, like a little bit about my background, and also the fact that I have a partner and that sort of thing. I think that's actually helped more than it has hurt in my
Mm.
career because I think that newsrooms do value diversity, and I hope that's still the case. You see all these headlines about these big companies getting rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. And I hope that long term, that is not the trend that we're going down. And I do also think that a lot of these companies, by the way, still do value those ideals, but in the current political climate, perhaps have to either rebrand them or scale them back, and that's unfortunate. But I do think that long term, that diversity is so important, especially in the media.
Absolutely. I've come to realize more and more how important it is for people to see themselves represented on their TVs, in movies, on stage, in leadership positions of all kinds. So thank you for being one of those people for the next generation to see. When I was in Chattanooga, I had several people who grew up there would come and be on the show. And afterwards they would just say like, hey, thank you for being an out queer person on television. I never thought I would see that here. So
Oh
it
my
was
God,
always,
amazing.
it was always a really special moment. And so I try to never take that for granted, because I know that there are people watching and seeing and realizing that, hey, Josh did it, Derick did it, so I can do it too.
And that's a great point that you mentioned that, because obviously Chattanooga and New York are two different places. And so I've
Right.
been in the New York market for a long time where, you know, people don't even think about that.
Hmm.
Frankly, a lot of people don't here in New York. I think it's obviously very accepting of that. But still to this day, not the case in some other places. And
Yep.
so that's a great point.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just it's never lost on me to see someone that is doing what they love and representing a minority of people. So thank you for being one of those people. It's very, very, very needed.
Oh, you too.
Thank you. Thank you. And is there is are you working on any stories right now? Is there anything kind of getting you excited that we can kind of look forward to?
I'm thinking, so, in this new era that I'm in, I'm trying to think of topical stories, things that people are talking about that I can, put my spin on things or
Hmm.
add a little extra element, for a video for online, that I can do quickly, because I don't want to spend like 8 hours of my day making these videos when I've got other things to do. So
Yep.
think that's where am right now, where I'm again just trying to take the big topic of the day, and then doing a little bit of journalism myself, a little bit of research, and adding something to it. So like today, I just posted a video about this whole Epstein fight in Congress, and pointing out the fact that Trump in the last couple of days has been talking about how this is a hoax put on by the Democrats. And it's certainly true that over the last couple of months, the Democrats have been pushing for the release of these files. But if you go back to just last year, Trump himself was saying that he had no problem releasing the files. And some of his closest allies have been on the record in the previous years saying that. So I went and pulled up some of those old clips and kind of put that out there to just kind of remind people how we got to this point. So that's the kind of video that I think I might continue doing more of. And then the other day when I was in Queens, my dad actually lives in Queens. And so I
Okay.
actually interviewed him about politics. And he's actually a retired NYPD detective. And I asked him who he voted for, and we talked about that for a while. And so I'm going to put that together later. But it was, you might be surprised by what he had to say. So I think I'm looking forward to putting that together.
Yeah, that's a good little tease, Derick. I'm very excited. Ooh. I actually had my mom on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and that was a lot. It's really interesting to get to talk to family members like that and kind of dig a little deeper now that, we're older and we can understand more and we've lived life too. Is that something you might want to continue with other family members, or was this kind of just a one-off that kind of fit with what you're doing right now?
I was thinking about that story that I did with the MOS, the man on the street interviews in Queens, and he just happened to live nearby. So I was like, hey, I'll stop by. And then
Gotcha.
when I was over there, I was like, do you want to be interviewed? And he's like, sure. So that was just that. I mean, I didn't put a lot of any more thought to it than that. I'm not sure if I want to interview too many family members, to be honest with you, because I actually don't. Even though I'm doing this interview with you, I really don't love being like the focus of the story. So,
Well then thank
um,
you. Isn't it so weird to be on the other side of it, to be the one being asked questions?
it is, but I'm trying to get more used to it, because now that I'm not working in news, and this business, I've learned that networking is so important. I've been doing a lot of networking events and talking to people, and recently was talking to college students, and I sat there for 2 hours while they asked me questions, and so I'm getting more used to it, but it's still a little odd to me to be the one being asked the questions.
Yes, I've had it just a few times, and it's like, oh, this is what I put people through every day. I understand why they are a little stressed now. I get it. I get it. Um, well, Derick, this has been so much fun. I'm so thankful that you are willing to do this. One question I'm asking all of my guests: why do you think storytelling is so important?
Why is storytelling so important? Um, well, I do think that the person telling the story really matters, and we talked about diversity in newsrooms,
Hmm.
and the reason why that's so important is because we all came from different backgrounds, whether that be racial backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds, different regions of the country, different regions of the world, and so we we can all learn something from each other. And so being exposed to more and more points of view, and when I say points of view, I don't mean like political opinions. I'm talking about like the viewpoint from where you're standing on earth, and so which means like your lived experiences and how you came to how you're thinking in this current moment, and being exposed to more of those points of view is going to make us all more empathetic, that's the word, and you just have richer life experiences. And I hope that through that kind of storytelling that we can kind of break down some of these walls that have been put up in the last few years, where half the country is not talking to the other half of the country, and we're demonizing each other. So if we could just get back to more storytelling, more sharing perspectives, listening to one another, I think we'll be in a better place.
Absolutely. I think that's what I've loved about getting to do this podcast is, for the most part, it's people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis or I've known. But I've had a few people that I've not gotten to meet in person yet, but have experienced them either on stage or through social media. And so it's always so interesting just to get to see how you see the world versus how I'm seeing the world. And for me, it's always been, I grew up, I say a pretty normal life. Like, I have three little sisters. My parents are still together. We lived we had a house. Like, nothing crazy has ever happened to me in my life. And so I love getting to hear how other people grew up, where they were, where they are now, where they're going, and how what they've gone through has shaped them into who they are today. So it's been a lot of fun, and I'm very excited to kind of keep doing it and see what else I can learn.
Yeah, this is amazing. You asked some amazing questions, and so I really enjoyed the conversation for sure.
Thank you. And then I do, because I've got you, I've got to ask the like generic, what would you pass on to a new journalist starting their career? Any tips as they get started?
Well, I think the industry right now is in an enormous moment of change, and I don't know that really anyone knows exactly what the future is going to look like. And so, this is something that I actually told some college students recently: is that they are in the driver's seat. They are the ones who are going to determine what the news industry looks like in the future. And I don't think it's going to look like what it did in the 90s.
Mm.
Maybe it looks a little bit more like what we're doing right now. Maybe it's a little more, authentic in that way, and driven by individuals and personalities. I'm not sure, but it's a scary time, but also an exciting time. And so I tell people coming up in the industry that there's no template. There's no, when I was coming up 15 years ago, there was a clear playbook. You went to the small market and you worked your way up, and then you're in market one. And everything's changed in 15 years. We didn't have content creators making videos on YouTube that a million people are watching. That was just not the thing. So
Hmm.
the future's in their hands, which is scary, but also exciting.
Agreed, 100%. Yeah, I'm very interested to see what newsrooms, content centers become in the next decade or so. Well, Derick, this has been great. I love getting to talk to news people. It's always very interesting to hear what their experiences have been. If we want to follow along and keep up with everything you've got going on, how can we do that?
Well, Yeah, I'm on social media. So Waller NYC on Instagram and Threads and X and TikTok and all those things and Blue Sky. What else? Substack. I'm
Wherever,
trying to do all the
wherever.
things, but it's really hard to keep up with all this stuff, you know. But
Yes.
yeah, Waller NYC is basically where you can find me in those places.
Perfect. And we'll have it linked in the show notes too. It'll just be a click away for everyone. Derick, thank you so much for your time and thank you for sharing your stories today.
I appreciate it. Thank you.